Welcome back to the Veteran State of Mind podcast. Coming to you with a special episode. It's the first one that's been recorded. Actually, no, it's the second one that's been recorded in a hotel room, which, goes to show you a lot. I like to think about the effort that I go to reach the best guests in all the lands. My guest today, he is the meme lord. He is the king of military memes. Various other aristocratic titles that he has, all involving memes. His name is Daniel Sharp. He's a veteran of Iraq, a veteran of Afghanistan. Been in the same kind of shitholes, the same kind of time, had many of the same kind of experiences. He is one of the funniest military people on the internet. Maybe the funniest. Check out his memes, decide for yourself. You'll know him as Pop Smoke. He's a friend of mine. It's the second time we've done a podcast together, so I'm excited. And the reason we're in this lovely little hotel room, and the audio might not be as good as usual, is because we're in Norway. And Norway, it turns out, is expensive as fuck. And it was over £200 for an hour of studio time. And I need that money for hookers. So, unfortunately, we're in the hotel. There's a hooker decomposing in the back of the room as we speak. But we are professionals. We're not going to let that stop us. Dan, bro, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Well, it's nice to return the favour, mate, after you had us on last time. I'm just going to ask for your patience for a second while I do a bit of what I like to call marketing, where I ask you, loyal listeners, well, first of all, I want to thank you because, this is episode number 12 now. The support has been great. Recently, I put some signed copies of my book, Siege, up for sale, and with the proceeds going in a split towards the recording cost of this podcast, which, as we just mentioned, can be pretty high, and also to a charity called First Light, which do excellent work in supporting veterans. So go and check out those guys, First Light. I really like that charity because it's run by somebody who she walks the walk. Right? She's not one of these people who has a charity and she's taking a fucking great big salary off the top of it and has a board of directors who are all their mates and they're all taking six figures home. She really fucking cares, and she's been good to me, and now I want to be good to them. So if you want a signed copy and help support the podcast and help support First Light, then you can find the details on my social media. The other thing that I'm going to try and sell you before we begin the podcast is my book Brothers in Arms, which is coming out May 16th. It's coming out in hardback, on ebook and audio book, which I've been recording recently. So if you like listening to my voice, or at the very least you can tolerate listening to my voice, then you might enjoy the audio book. What I could really use your help actually when it comes to this book, because pre-orders are really fucking important for a book, because you get a good number of pre-orders, get it in the bestseller list, and if it gets on that list, it gets into more stores, which means more people see it. Does that benefit me by getting more sales? Absolutely, it benefits me, but that benefits the podcast. But more importantly, the whole message of the book is because I think I'm a good case study in how not to deal with leaving the military. You've heard about some of that stuff on the podcast, and you're going to hear more about it. In the book, I go down into depths, quite honestly, not the kind of stuff that I'm comfortable talking about on camera, because some of it is pretty fucking dark and deep, and I don't think any of you want to see 2 hours of me screaming and crying on a thing. Maybe you do. I've got a webcam show. If that's your thing, you can check it out. But guys, if you can pre-order Brothers in Arms, I would really fucking appreciate it. If there's one book of mine that you're ever going to buy in your life, and it probably is going to only be one book after you read one of them, then please make it Brothers in Arms. It is a bit of a fucking cliche and stuff to say that you kind of poured your heart out and shit into a book, and look, the truth is, when I'm writing about Roman soldiers or a crime thriller, I'm not pouring my heart out. I'm trying to write something that's entertaining and maybe some educational in some points. But this book, I really kind of I really fucking it's hard for me to kind of put it out across there. Put it this way, I'm fucking shitting myself. I'm very excited about the book coming out, but I'm also shitting myself because this book is it's really just put in. I haven't held back on anything in there. So yeah, I'm kind of shitting myself because people are going to know exactly what kind of psychopath I am, and it might be the last book I ever get published. So yes. thank you to those who have already supported it, and if you haven't, and you can, and if you know if you can't afford to buy the book, then I totally understand that, and I won't hold it against you. But please fuck off right now because you're not getting everything for free. I'm joking. Nah, no. That is why I don't work in marketing. That is why I write books. Daniel Sharp. Let's talk some fucking veteran state of mind stuff. We've got a few things I've got. If I keep looking down here, it's not a dead hooker I'm looking at. I'm looking down at my little notes. And you just brought up a really interesting point about Norway, because we wanted to touch on, seems as we are in country, so to speak, we wanted to touch on some stuff that was relevant to Norway. And you brought up a really interesting point, is that we have seen not a single sign of military recruitment posters or anything like that out here. So, yeah, what's up with that?
No, we haven't seen any billboards, any commercials, any posters, no recruiting offices, no one in uniform. The only person I think we saw in uniform was the one guard that they have at the Royal Palace.
Yeah, there's like one guy. There's one guy staggering on outside the Royal Palace. Traditional kind of big furry thing on his head, all that kind of stuff. Shout out all the guys in the guards out there that wear that stuff. Not my cup of tea, but good on you. It's interesting, isn't it? Because we're both from London is, obviously people go for the, changing of the guard and all that kind of stuff, and that's a very much a touristy thing. But even so, there's, granted, we haven't been watching much Norwegian TV and stuff out here, but you see recruiting offices, you see on the side of buses maybe of recruiting adverts and stuff like that.
Not only that, but like in America, you'll have sponsored advertisements on your social media. So you'll just be sitting there, like, looking at memes or whatever, and you'll scroll across a post. It's like, join the Navy as a chaplain, or, after you get out of the service, join the National Guard.
Yeah.
And there's been none of that. I've seen a little bit of TV. I watched a little bit in my room last night and the night before I went to bed, just kind of background noise. It kind of helps quiet the screams.
Oh, yeah, you could have a scream dampener.
Yeah. And, so there hasn't been anything. The only evidence that I've seen is that when I was buying my ticket on the train, at the very bottom of the price list said it was a discounted rate for conscripts.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty interesting that, like, even though they're not overtly a military country, there's obviously, countries don't go giving shit away for free unless there's a groundswell of support for the military in that country.
Yeah.
So even though it's not an overt thing, it's not like it's because some countries, like, they're quite disdainful of their militaries, right? Mm-hmm. It's like a last resort thing that people go into. So clearly that's not the case here. Clearly there's some kind of, well done for you, you're supporting the country, therefore you get a cheaper train ticket. Hope that makes up for no legs. But yeah, it's an interesting one, dude, because I always think, look, we're in the heart of the Viking countries.
Yeah, while you're talking, I'm going to look up to see how big their military is.
All right. Yeah, so we're in the heart of the Viking countries. You can't turn on your fucking TV now without seeing someone get an axe stuck in his head. Vikings are very on vogue at the moment. I think those shows like Vikings are part of the reason why so many people have got the old, like, the long hairy bearded looks. I think they've had like a bit of a kind of like a fashion influence as well. But there's obviously like warrior culture DNA. Warrior DNA, in my opinion, is something that it is within certain people. Certain people, it's like a nature-nurture thing. Some people are born to be warriors. And I definitely think that that's the case. So I'm sure there's probably like, imagine what a Norwegian Special Forces unit looks like. They're probably all like 6'5", built like fucking, like, like you get your NFL linebackers like Clay Matthews with long flowing hair. I don't have a man crush on him at all. I just know all of his physical characteristics.
Yeah, and what I have noticed is that most people here are very mild-mannered, very polite, very soft-spoken, where, you actually bump into somebody and depending on what part of Camden or London or New York or Virginia Beach you're in, you might get a, hey, fuckhead, like, watch where you're going. As we're here, like, oh, no, my fault, please excuse me.
Please walk over me.
Yeah.
Don't get your feet wet in that puddle, I'll take it for you.
And so it's kind of like, I feel like the idea that, like, the raiding and the pillaging and the Viking, like, I kind of feel like a lot of that's been lost along the way. And because you have the reputation of people in Scandinavia being very hospitable, very polite, and so that's kind of a thing. And so yeah, you see this guy that's 4 or 5 inches taller than me, and I bump into him, and he's like, "Oh no, sorry, like please don't
But you still stabbed him
with
because he
Martinez.
fucking bumped into you. Fuck that asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, I've only seen one person puking in the streets here so far, and he was a US Marine. Not this US Marine, I may add. And I've only seen one drunken asshole, and it was it was me.
Yeah, yeah, and that's another thing. Like, I haven't seen any bar fights. I haven't seen any altercations. I've only seen 2 police officers, and they didn't even carry guns.
Yeah, I mean, British police officers don't really carry guns either, but I imagine there's not the gun culture here that there is in America. We got the stat. Okay, what's the stat?
So there are just under 19,000 active duty personnel. 7,300 of which are conscripts, meaning that they got voluntold to join the military.
That's not many people. That's not many conscripts, is it? Because usually conscript armies tend to be they go for the quantity over quality thing, right? Because it's like, say, your Egyptian army. I'll probably get assassinated by someone from Egypt now, but their army has like a lot of conscripts, and it's their training is like. I don't even think they do push-ups and stuff. I don't know what they do, to be honest. Well, we know what they do, and it's called fucking little kids. I think, it's the truth. The old fucking Habibi system is alive and well in those kind of militaries. It's endemic. Unfortunately, that got dark quick. But no, I'm really surprised because you must be pretty unlucky to be the guy conscripted. Do they have men and women as well?
They do.
So you've got the facts ready to go now.
Yeah, they said mandatory, but not every. The thing is that a fair amount of people who will be conscripted aren't actually required to serve. So they are forced to come in and go through the examinations and say, like, okay, you are qualified for military service, but we do not require you at this time.
Right. That's interesting. So we're like, when Russia comes, what did I say when? If Russia comes, then it's like, now you gotta get your fucking boots on.
Yeah, because even from what I'm seeing as far as the conscripts go, it said in practice recruits are not forced to serve. Instead, only those who are motivated are selected.
Interesting.
So if you do get that letter saying like, hey, you're conscripted, you can go there, and if you just shit the bed and fucking sandbag everything, then somebody
can you explain to a British listener what sandbagging is?
Okay, so the idea behind that is that you're kind of just like taking your time with things. You're not putting your best effort. I'm not sure where the exact phrase come from.
I think maybe it's because they used to get a sandbag put over their head and have the shit beaten out of them.
Yeah.
If I had to make a guess, that's what it'd be.
Yeah, or just like, how you kind of, like if you were carrying a sandbag, you're going to move a lot slower than somebody who's not.
True that, or the speed. Maybe it's sandbag filling.
Yeah.
You take all day to like fill a sandbag. We all know those people.
Yeah, and then also, like when you're playing spades, if you have a really good hand, but you say that you don't have a good hand just so you'll guarantee that you'll make your nut, it's called sandbagging because you knew you could do better, but you didn't.
Got you.
So kind of like the same concept. Like if you go in there and you underperform, like it seems like you can kind of get out of it. But the people who are like real gung-ho and they want to serve, they're more than welcome to.
Yeah.
They'll get their place.
On the subject of cards, have you ever heard of a card game called Shithead?
Yes, I have actually.
Good. Is it like a popular one in America?
I've played it maybe 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, because that like is if there's a British military card game or just a British card game that most people play, I would say that it's Shithead.
Yeah,
it's a great game. I can't remember the rules for it, but if someone out there wants a business idea, online Shithead, there you go. You're welcome. Please donate some of the money. Become a sponsor. Better state of mind. Right, dude. One of the things I wanted to talk to you about was obviously, as we've established, you are the meme lord.
Yeah.
Undisputed meme lord of the military world.
Well, that's a bold assumption, but I do all right.
Well, I'm making bold assumptions. It's my podcast, and that's what I make. People come here to hear bold assumptions, right? I have zero evidence to back up any of these assumptions, but they are mine, and I own them. And I think you are the undisputed one. And all 3 people listening to this will probably take my word for it. So, how the fuck do you go from being a fucking big dick slinging, trigger pulling, door kicking slayer of men to making people laugh?
Well, because on any given deployment, you spend 95% of your time sitting around with your thumb up your ass, and then 5% of the time actually doing your job. And So because of that, you have to fill a lot of dead space with banter and with conversation and just being able to make people laugh and make things that are kind of insane, but make them relatable. Because if I put a meme out there, it's like, oh yeah, when you are fucking a gorilla on the top of the Eiffel Tower and you win the lottery, like nobody, besides you after a few beers can relate to that, And so like, okay, well that's wild, but it's just shocking to be shocking.
Yeah.
But as far as memes go, if you say something like, like when you're on a PT run and you're hungover and the person behind you can smell what kind of liquor you were drinking the night before, that's relatable.
And what I find brilliant about this is it's not just relatable to a US Marine.
Yeah.
It's relatable to cross services. And you were talking as well about how many followers you have who are not even service members, but they might just have an interest in the service.
Oh yeah.
But like, what was the point? Was it just something you were literally just doing it for a bit of your own fun?
Yeah, it started off that way. I kind of got into editing pictures because we'd be on deployment and we'd lose a guy, and people would want to make in memorandum posts for this individual.
Right.
And so I would go to their profile and get their picture and kind of like put it on it, put like the blurb about like who they were, their name, their rank, where they were when they passed away, what dates they were in. I would take that and I'd send it out to the guys, and then they would post it on their social media.
So when we're talking like what, you did first deployment 2005, right?
Yeah, I didn't start until I think 2010 or 2011.
Okay, so because you did like, just run people through we're veering on a tangent here for people just listening to people listening to this on audio. I am drinking, so there will be tangents in this. What was your just a quick rundown of them? Where did you deploy to?
In 2005, I went to Iraq, Syrian border. 2007, I went to Iraq again, Al Anbar province, between Ramadi and Fallujah and throughout those areas. Then in 2011, I went to Jordan. Then at the end of 2011, I went to Afghanistan, and then in 2014,
you were down in Sangin, right?
Yeah, down in Helmand Province, Sangin District, the Brown Zone specifically. I like to stay in the Brown Zone.
Yes, do we all?
Then 2014, I went to Guantanamo Bay.
I'd like to point out that he was there as part of the guard force and not as a detainee. That's not the reason we're recording in Oslo. It's not because he's currently on the run.
Yeah, no, I ran the ranges there for about 6 months.
Right,
yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, so I think a lot of British listeners, like guys who have served recently, will be able to relate to a lot of the places you were at, because you were in for people who don't know Al Anbar province, that place was distinguished itself as being a fucking very
massive
volatile
shithole.
Yeah, massive shithole, but a very volatile massive shithole, especially in that period. And then obviously Sangin is Sangin as well. Like all British, anyone who knows anything about the British military is going to have heard of Sangin. So you started making these memorandum things, and then how did that transition into like becoming some pretty piss funny memes?
Well, I think the first military meme that I made, we had just gotten a new commandant of the Marine Corps who was some air winger pogue who had never been in a firefight.
Please explain to British listeners what a pogue is.
Oh, it's a person other than grunt. So mechanics, paper pushers, anybody who's not out there, patrolling, actually, doing grunt work. And there's, so he was an air winger, and so this guy became in charge of the entire Marine Corps as commandant. And a lot of people were upset about that because here we are at the height of war, and this guy has never been in a gunfight. And so I had made a meme basically teasing the commandant about not having a combat action ribbon, or as the acronym is, a car. So it's like, how can he drive the Corps into the future when he doesn't have a car?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, and so it was a good zinger, and I sent it into a page, and it blew up, and I was fucking terrified because I thought, like, man, this is gonna get traced back to me.
Oh, you're still serving?
I was still having to do it.
Oh,
yeah.
Shit!
I was in Guantanamo Bay. I thought he was gonna fly down and walk me.
Fitting you for a jumpsuit.
Yeah, walk me over the compound and start waterboarding me.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Although that would have given you an erection.
Massive, real stiffy. And so that was my start in that. And then the guy who ran the page asked me to send another one. I sent another one in that did really well. And then he asked me to help him admin the page. And eventually I started my own Pop Smoke.
Yeah. So you do Pop Smoke, right? And you put out, how many posts have you done now?
I've made somewhere in the neighborhood close to about 5,000 original memes.
Right. And Dan is not a heavy drinker, so I don't know where he gets his influence from for so many reasons. Because the thing is, as well, it's like, yeah, it's funny, but I think one of the mistakes people make when it comes to comedy, which it's form of comedy, is people think that if they look at a comedian or whatever, and they think, oh well, that's got an easy job because they're just saying funny shit, whatever. But to come up with a consistent level. Because the other thing as well, dude, you're in a position now, especially now, obviously this is something that's gone over time, but now, it's the same with any kind of like artistic work. If you put out something then that people think is like a degree below the last thing that you did, the pressure builds. The more you put out, the more the pressure builds, right?
And then the higher the demand is for the output. If I don't post a meme for a day or two because I'm either super depressed or I'm traveling, then I get angry messages. And are they genuinely angry, or are they just like, is it banter? A little bit of both.
Really?
Yeah, because there's a few people out there that don't understand that proper banter is being friends with somebody first. So I'll get strangers that I've never met, I've never served with, just they happen to be in the military, and they're like, "Hey, you shithead! Like, why haven't you posted today?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, "Fuck off, guy! Like, I don't. Who are you?"
Yeah, because you run a business too. You have a business. It's like you have a business, employing veterans, and so it's not like, I think some people maybe think like, oh, this guy is like, he makes memes and he lives on a super yacht with a bunch of fucking dead hookers.
I wish. If that was the case, then I would put out more.
Yeah. But I mean, most of the content would be about dead hookers and stuff. But, so there's a lot of pages out there. I'm a big fan of some of them. Like putting war footage out and all that kind of stuff. But obviously, you've chosen to go down a different path, and I think there's definitely a place for war footage. I mean, I definitely disappeared down that rabbit hole sometime. Like, oh, little firefight video in Afghanistan. 3 hours later, I'm still watching it, and I've gone to get my good headphones so that like the rounds sound closer and stuff, and my poor old cats are just like watching me like leopard crawl around the kitchen. It's like, Charlie in the trees, but. Yeah, it's interesting. You've gone down that different route, because I hope you don't mind me going down this, because I'm just going to say it because you already mentioned being depressed yourself, right? It's not like you're constantly bouncing off the walls in in this big ball of happiness all the time.
Oh, quite the opposite. From the combat tours, not being able to trust women, the struggles that you have getting out. There's a lot of darkness to deal with.
Yeah, and I think that's regardless of being in the military or not being in the military. I think this is one of the reasons like a lot of these kind of memes work with people that weren't even in the military is people. It's all tied into the human condition, and part of the human condition is suffering, and that might be suffering on a run, and it might be suffering from like you might not have lost a friend in combat, but you might have lost a friend in a car accident, and. I think that's why comedy does work. If I listen to a black comedian making jokes about the black community, that I'll still find some stuff funny because there's going to be some crossover into my own life in one way or another.
Yeah, not only that, but especially in America, the United States, where the majority of people are related to somebody who was served. I think somewhere in the neighborhood of like only like maybe 8% of the country or less are veterans, and that is rapidly declining because of the passing away of the World War II veterans.
Oh, right, okay.
So for the most part, everybody had either a grandpa or a great uncle or a brother or an uncle or someone who served in either World War II, back-to-back World War champs. Boom.
Flex on.
And or Korea, the Korean conflict, or the Vietnam conflict.
Not champs in that one though.
Yeah, to be fair, if you look at the fact that the U.S. never lost a major battle, and the kill-to-death ratio was staggering in favor of the U.S.
Yeah, I think the thing with Vietnam, dude, is I look at it like Afghanistan and Iraq. It's like we did our fucking job, the same as the troops in Vietnam did their job.
Yeah.
And it
so
was like,
I feel it was a tactical victory, but a political loss.
Yeah, definitely the same as the ones we were involved in, I would say. And I think that's why I think that there's been like a big kind of rethinking of how people deal with Vietnam veterans and stuff now, because there was such kind of like a distaste at the time, and now I think the thinking now has swung around to, these are these are a lot of draftees a lot of the time, they're just doing their fucking job and what they were told.
Yeah.
Like the overall strategy was not down to them. They did what they were told, and they don't deserve to be held in anything but the highest regard for doing their duty.
And also, I'll point this out. We dedicated about the same amount of resources and manpower to taking the single island of Okinawa in World War II as we did the entire Vietnam conflict.
It's actually, so I just read that book, Hue 1968. I forget the name of the guy. He's the guy that did the Black Hawk Down book too. It's a hell of a sized book, but I do recommend checking it out, because you're a Marine, so you know what we see.
Yeah.
And we're talking about a city, right? So we know this is not a little place, a city, and they're just sending in like a company of Marines here and a company of Marines there. The fact that they were actually able to fucking persevere in that battle is incredible. And I have a lot of time for Marines, dude. So a lot of my good friends are American Marines, and there's a reason for that, because I think very similar to British soldiers. I think our ethos is the same, because I know one of the things about American Marines is you're not funded as well as the other branches, so it's about getting to. I heard recently, I don't know if it's true or not, so if you're in the US Army, don't get pissy at me, but I was told that as far as like lethality goes, that like a Marine battalion is kind of graded the same as a US Army regiment, or I don't know if that's true or not, but what I will say is this: I know from my own eyes that they get a lot of fucking shit done with not that many fucking people, and like the British Army, and this goes for all the British Army, especially the infantry. We fucking carry all our shit on our back, and I think that's very true for Marines too, right? You guys do a lot of there's vehicles and there's the fucking helicopters and shit, but you guys, you fucking rock. Yeah,
that is true. The unique thing about the Marine Corps is that we have our own helicopters, our own jets. Granted, in joint operations, like we had our medevac done by Tricky, like the British pilots in Afghanistan, and we'll get the A-10s from the Air Force.
Shout out all A-10 pilots.
Yeah, but for the most part, if you have a Marine Corps Air Ground Task Force, it's pretty self-sustained. We get our medical personnel and our religious personnel from the Navy, but for the most part, we do a lot of stuff. And it's kind of funny. There was an operation. I think it was either Grenada or Panama. But you had like a SEAL team that was pinned down. You had like 2 regiments of Ranger battalions that were pinned down. And there's actually a quote from an Army general. It's like, I have like 3 regiments pinned down and 2 companies of Marine running rampant over the north of the island. Like, what the hell is going on? Yeah. And like 2 companies of Marines. And I think it's more so for the fact that there is a little bit of suicidal in there. Because like in Way City, one of the companies was Suicide Charlie. Yeah. And they became very, famous for the fact that they're like, oh, that's the worst of the fighting. That's where we're going.
Well, ethos carries over from generation to generation.
Yeah.
So when your forefathers were in Okinawa and Iwo Jima and all these fucking battles, that definitely that carries on. Like,
and you hit the nail on the head, because when I look at that as my lineage. I look at that as my forefathers. I have more, paternal respect for those Marines than I have for my own biological father, And so when the reason why it's such a cult is because, like, if you have like a little string sticking out on your uniform, you're not just like, oh, hey, it's just a string. No, you're disrespecting the uniform that the Marines who died on Iwo Jima wore.
Right.
Yeah, as where like in other branches might just fix it, dickhead. But in the Marine Corps, it's like, no, like those Marines didn't die in the Frozen Chosen for you to fuck up their legacy.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. It's a legacy.
Yeah, I mean, we just mentioned like, in the last couple of minutes, way Frozen Chosen. If you guys don't know any of these, if you guys haven't heard of these battles, then
correct yourself.
There it is. For those that don't know, and if you don't know, because by the way, guys, I forgot to mention, Dan is also the host of the Smoke Pit podcast, right? I will give you all the details of where to find Dan at the end, but definitely be checking out the Smoke Pit podcast, and those kind of battles, and we're not talking, so one of the great things I love about the British Army is our regiment kind of talking about lineage, my regiment was at Waterloo and stuff like that, and that's great and that's a lot of pride, but you can't touch that the way you can touch a battle of 40 years ago when you meet the veterans.
I think that's kind of dual-sided though, because when I was in the UK, because I spent a lot of time going through the UK, and I've been to Wales, I've been to.
You come see me.
Well, I didn't know you then.
But still, I was.
You're probably face down in an opium den somewhere. 2014. Do you remember that year?
Yeah, it was before the slide into madness.
Yeah, and so I couldn't throw a stone without hitting something that was older than America. You know, and so the idea that we have such a short, limited burst, but yet the U.S. has been in armed conflict for 94% of the time that it's been a country.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is something I harp on about a lot, but I'm going to continue to harp on about it because there's a point I like to make, and that is that people think about the samurai and everything like that as some of the most warlike cultures. Correct yourself.
Yep.
It is the US and the UK. Our militaries are almost constantly scrapping somewhere.
Constantly.
Yeah, we fucking love a good scrap. There's no getting away from it. Now, I'm not saying the whole country loves a good scrap. I mean, they love reaping the benefits of it and then complaining about it 100 years later.
Yeah.
But our militaries are I really believe that in a couple of thousand years' time, if we're still here, people will be looking back on the US military and the British military, and it will be compared to the fucking samurai cultures and stuff, like that. All right, maybe we piss on each other in the showers more than they do. But
because if you look at who had the largest global empire, it was the UK.
Yeah.
I think Genghis Khan.
With about 50 troops.
Yeah. Just throw a little opium in China. A little bit of seasoning towards this other place, and you got them locked in.
That was back in the days when drug wars had a different. Now, drug wars is supposed to be about stopping the drugs. We fought wars. We fought the opium wars because we didn't want the Chinese
faucet to turn off.
Yeah, the Chinese wanted us to stop importing it, and we were like, no, we're going to continue to import opium, and we're willing to come in and slaughter a bunch of you. We burnt down a bunch of their national treasures as basically, don't you dare tell us not to sell drugs here. we were the biggest drug dealers in the world. So politicians, bear that one in mind.
You know who else is who's up there pretty high in the mongering, as warmongering, is in the last couple hundred years? I think it was the Netherlands with Africa.
Oh yeah, dude. They had
Oh my god, have you heard about what they've done?
They had a big empire, dude.
Yeah.
Dutch. But you imagine it, some fucking 6'5" Dutch brick shithouse turns up, on some island with everyone's emaciated. Just probably just clubbing everyone.
Stacking bodies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we have a lot of fucking I'm not going to say blood on our hands, but a lot of blood in our history, because I don't think I think one of the things, because this was something I was thinking about the Vikings the other day, just bring it back to Norway. Everyone's going about, the Vikings were so warlike, the Vikings this. Everyone was fucking warlike. Yeah. At that point in history, no one was sitting around doing yoga fucking classes. At that point, everyone was going around chopping each other's heads off.
And to be fair, also, doing research into it, they only had seasons where they did the raiding parties, and so during out the year, they would do their shit, but then it was okay, time to go to war.
Yeah.
And so it was a part of the culture that was big enough, but it wasn't like you were saying, how the US and UK are constantly, and it wasn't a country initiative. It was okay, this tribe or this region, you don't see a lot of examples of all the Vikings on boats going to invade a country.
Yeah. Well, one of the things about the Vikings, it was if you were in one of those, and Viking as well as Viking is it's a new term. We're talking about the Scandinavian countries, right? Because to go Viking was actually the act of raiding party. The rest of the time you were Dana or you were whatever you were. But the thing about them is, and this is very true about our army now and the Marines. You were only there if you wanted to be. No one was getting conscripted into those armies of theirs. It was if you were there because you wanted to go and fight.
And you wanted part of the bounty, the spoils.
And I mean, I feel a bit hard done by that we don't get part of the spoils these days. Think about it, there's a lot of money being made out of the Iraq War, and we don't fucking get any of it.
Yeah, but those raiding parties sometimes would be 30 to 50 people from one village, and they would go, attack a monastery or something, and so you really scale it down, we were saying how World War II were these massive campaigns. Mm-hmm. where you have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people assaulting one area. And then you kind of scale it down to like where the Vikings, where you have like 50 people attacking a village. And then you scale it down to like Iraq and Afghanistan sometimes, where you might have like a 12-man or an 8-man squad, fighting for their life somewhere. And that's like your entire like military experience, where, I've done missions where we had 2,000 Marines online pushing through multiple cities. And then I've been in situations where it's only been 8 of us and we're getting shot at.
Yeah.
And so I've kind of had that gambit through the different deployments, but to kind of like, bridge that gap a little bit, the reason why you and I are able to, get on this and talk about our experiences is because we have been in those small unit engagements. We know the importance of having a good NCO, a good corporal or a good sergeant to, manage that small unit leaders, because it wasn't MacArthur, it wasn't Pershing, it wasn't Cornwallis, who was pointing at the, and sending thousands of us, into battle.
Yeah. Well, yeah, like those, D-Day, when it was an impeccably planned operation. If it wasn't for the fucking squad leaders and the platoon commanders doing their job on the ground, you can have all the fucking charts drawn up in the fucking world. But, it comes down to your fucking squad leaders. And I think, again, this is a comparison I draw with the US Marines and the British Army, is I think that we both have very good junior leadership. I think... I knock the Army, British Army, a lot of stuff, sometimes tongue-in-cheek, sometimes seriously. But what I do think the British Army does fucking amazingly is train its junior leaders. I can't really speak too much for the officers because I don't know that much other side of things, but I do think that this standardised, the way that all NCOs, you have to go to junior breakfast. So you're not having one regiment that's running this one course and one regiment's doing another, and you get this disparity of, different standards. It's everyone from all different regiments is coming in, is going through the same course. I think that's, really, it's not just important, it's just proven to be effective. So I've got my little notebook list here. Right, while we're talking about similarities between the US Marines and the British Army, I wanted to touch a bit on drinking culture.
Yeah.
So talk us through not just drinking culture, but talk me through the kind of a day in the life maybe in the barracks of a US Marine infantry unit, because I'm sure there's difference between, as you said, someone that's in an air wing and someone that's in the someone that's in the infantry. What's the kind of stuff? Some of the things that you've seen. I mean, I definitely heard the other day one of you mentioned. We've got another friend out here, another Marine. I definitely heard thrown out of a window. That came up in conversation.
Yeah, so I think one of the biggest difference in the culture is that, I think people in the UK, you're legally able to drink wine at like 16 or...
Oh, no, it's 18 for drinking. 18 for everything, yeah. I think it's France where it's 16.
Yeah, and so you...
It's savages.
You're able to drink at 18. Well, in the US, you can't drink till 21. And so it's kind of like a forbidden thing where a lot of people do it, and you kind of have to do it in secret and in private because you could lose rank.
Right.
You could get thrown out of the military just for having a beer, at 20 years old.
How do you feel about the fact that guys can get deployed and kill people or be killed and can lose rank for having a drink when they get back?
I think it's insane because I remember flying home for leave before my second deployment, and I used my military ID as my proof of identification because I didn't even think I had a driver's license yet. And so I'm getting on the plane and I'm heading home, and they're like, "Oh, you're in the military. Well, we have an open seat in first class. Would you like to sit there?"
Fuck yeah!
And I was like, "Fuck yeah!" Like I'm not the the U.S. Army where they show up in camouflage. We can't wear that shit.
Right.
And I was in civilian attire because you're supposed to keep a low profile, but you have the stupid haircut and the clean shave,
like a Molly Day sack.
Yeah, and a Marine Corps T-shirt, And so I'm sitting up there, and I just turned. I think I was 20 years old, and the lady was like, "Oh, would you like some? Would you like a beer or something?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, like I'm not old enough to drink yet."
Oh, man.
And so she told the captain, and the captain embarrassed the fuck out of me. He's like, "Hey, just wanted to let everybody know that we have a United States Marine, Private or Lance Corporal Daniel Sharp. He's sitting up front in first class because we had an extra seat. I'm sure none of y'all have a problem with that, and he was like, yeah, we just offered him a beer, and he's on his way to his second deployment to Iraq, and he declined because he's not old enough to drink yet. And like you heard the gaps, and the applause from the entire plane. And I'm just saying, I'm just trying to get home and get laid, Like that's all I'm caring about.
Did you get to the captain at least blow you?
No.
Guys, it was fuck him then. He's makes it out of the house. It's like, dude, I would have preferred a little knuckle shuffle.
Yeah, exactly.
In the cockpit.
Like I would have taken that, and there weren't any hot girls on the plane either. So I appreciate the effort, but it was embarrassing, because here I am on my second deployment to Iraq, on my way to it, and I'm not even old enough to drink yet.
Yeah. All right. What's your thoughts on? We'll come back to drinking culture, right? But while you mentioned this thing, so this thing of people being in uniform at airports and stuff. What's your thoughts on that?
I personally I don't like it because I feel it's drawing unnecessary attention. But I can understand if you're on official orders or you're on official business. That's one thing. It's a good recruiting tool. People, will see that Marine, and, if you're a teenage kid, you see him, he walks a little straighter, he carries himself a little bit more confidently, and it's a good recruiting tool. I think the unfortunate part is that a lot of kids, because of the pure size and volume of the U.S. military, a lot of kids get pushed through without exactly learning all the regulations for themselves. So if their uniform looks like shit in public, it's embarrassing.
Yeah, because that's what I was going to say, because I've been in airports where I've seen, like, groups sometimes. And they'll be like, I understand that, you're not going to stand to attention for fucking 3 hours in an airport, nor would I expect anybody to, right? But sometimes they'll look slovenly. And, like, I used to rail against rules like no hands in your pockets and stuff, but I screwed the nut in public, because I do think in public, there are, like, you should keep up that perception of everybody looking like a fucking lean, mean, fucking fat-reducing grilling machine, right?
Yeah, and especially when people will say, thank you for your service, and a lot of guys don't know how to reply to that. I say, thank you for paying taxes, and, that gets a laugh out of most people, and because it's true. And so if you're a tax-paying civilian, and granted, I know it's only a minuscule amount of their taxes go to, the U.S.'s $710 billion budget,
wow,
which is more than 20, or it's more than the next, like, 20 people on the list combined, of like 17 of which are allies. Right. It makes no fucking sense to me. Yeah. But I digress. So if you're a tax-paying person,
well, I mean, it makes sense because you just say that you fight all the wars.
Yeah,
you need that fucking budget.
Yeah, and so you look over and you see a young man or a young woman in uniform, and they look like shit. You're gonna be like, you're gonna be a little bit more. You're not gonna be as proud. But if you look over and they're standing tall and they're looking good, like you have a little bit of patriotism. A little bit of pride in country, and you're like, yeah, that's a soldier, that's a sailor for my country.
I wonder though if most civilians, like, so if you and me are looking at them, we're looking at them with a critical eye. Yeah. I wonder if most civilians probably are looking at them like that. They probably, they're maybe not picking up on those kind of things to the extent that we do. For me, it just comes down to one of those things. Like, I understand like the whole orders thing. If you have to go and travel in uniform, I'd still, to be honest, slip out of it while I was,
when you could.
When I was traveling. Yeah. But for me, I definitely have seen this kind of. It's almost like some people, you just kind of get the vibe that they're doing it because they want someone to give up their fucking seat, or something like that. They want someone in business class to give up their seat, and it's that kind of veteran privilege thing that I'm not really like super. I'm not really kind of like super into it. But back to drinking culture, all right. In the barracks, what's some of the fucking craziest things you've seen happen in the barracks?
So for a while, there was a bad problem where the junior Marines would get hazed by the senior Marines, and now.
So hazing, explain to Brits what hazing is?
Hazing is, by definition, anything that is done to degrade or humiliate or to take advantage of a subordinate.
So sex?
Yeah, it could be sex.
No,
that
was a joke, people.
Fraternization. But when I say junior Marines and senior Marines, sometimes this can only be like a year difference in age. Maybe a year, maybe a year and a half. So say you have somebody who graduates high school in 2019, and they go on deployment and they come back. It's only 2021 now. Maybe the end of 2020, 2021, and so the kids who graduated in 2020, they're now arriving, and so there may only be a year and a half difference. But in the terms of the infantry community, like that hard line is like, have you deployed yet? And it's kind of been a little bit more difficult recently.
Yeah,
because
sure.
they're not as common. But
and what counts as that we're talking combat deployments?
Yeah. I mean, Iraq, Afghanistan. I remember some of my senior guys went to Haiti. Some of the current Marines are going to Syria. Some of them are doing. They go on naval ships and they'll do the floats around the world. And so this guy may have not seen direct combat, but he was there in the Philippines when they got hit by the tsunami, and he's seen more dead bodies.
Yeah, for sure.
And than I've ever had. So he'll still get that respect.
Yeah.
And so when you show up and you have a new guy, they're referred to as boots, which is nice, a nice punchy word like cunt.
I like it. I like boot.
Yeah,
it's said with feeling.
Yeah, and so you're like, hey, you stupid boot, or hey, come here, boot. And the adage behind it is if you had guys in the trenches and you have new guys showed up, their boots are brand new, and so it was a little easier to distinguish, that, or when they were swabbing the deck, it would be really slick, and so the salty guys would take their boots off because it'd be easier to maintain balance, and the new guys would have the slick bottom boot and they'd fall.
That's pretty cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so that's kind of where the term came from, and so you'd have the boots you get off work, and then senior guys immediately take the shirt off, smoking cigarettes on the catwalk at the barracks, drinking beers, and then that's when shit starts to go downhill.
Right.
And so,
oh god, yeah.
This, imagine kind of like a fraternity,
yeah,
like a really drunken fraternity. You have the seniors want to pick on the freshmen, the juniors, want to pick on the sophomores and the freshmen, and you have the underclassmen and the upperclassmen. And so, the senior guys, and the majority of the Marine Corps is the youngest branch. So the majority of any unit is going to be E3 and below.
So you mean youngest branch as in like your recruiting ages?
Or average age.
Yeah, or the average age.
Yeah, the average age in the Marine Corps is 25, as where it's like...
And that includes all staff officers?
All staff officers, all, non-commissioned officers, all the way down. So the average age is 25. Right. Most kids join 18, some join around 19 or 20. And so the idea that 77% of the Marine Corps is sergeant or below, which sergeant usually takes you 3 to 4 years to get, depending on your job. I'm sorry. It usually takes between 5 to 6 years to get, depending on your job.
And your sergeants are like, because we have like so like if you're listening and you're British and you're thinking British rank structure, it's not the same. Like a sergeant's not necessarily a platoon sergeant.
Like a squad leader.
Yeah, so squad leader. So we're talking like corporal, like what would be like a corporal, like a full screw in the British Army. Yeah,
and so it took me almost 6 years to get to sergeant. I was just about to leave on my third deployment, and I had been a combat instructor before that. So, it takes 5 or 6 years to get there. But anyway, so the majority of the company, like 90% of the company is going to be E3 and below, people who have been in for less than 4 years.
Right.
And so you will even have E3s that are put into corporal and sergeant billets, but they're still E3, so they don't get paid for that.
No,
they just get the extra work. And so you have the senior guys and the junior guys. And so one example is they would take a junior guy and they'd pull the mattresses out of their bedroom, they put them in the middle, and then run duct tape around it, and then throw them over the edge of the balcony.
Nice. From
the second or third floor. And because he had the mattress, he would bounce.
Yeah.
And turn up. So that'd be one example. Another example, if it was a really windy, rainy day, they tie a poncho to his ankles and his wrists, and then throw him off the balcony. So he would catch wind. That's a common thing.
I bet he did.
The tsunami parties in Japan, because the Marines have a big presence in Okinawa and Japan, and so whenever they get hit by tsunamis, you have the flying squirrels, as they call them. They glide down from the second floor.
Did they actually?
Yeah.
Did they actually glide?
Not well. They come down in a bit of a hurry. But so that's one example. Another one, they'll put your gas mask on and then put you in the shower, and everybody will dump bleach and put the hot water on and make you do jumping jacks and push-ups and
bleach.
Yeah, they pour bleach into the drain.
So what's the bleach? What's the bleach for?
Just to make you uncomfortable.
Oh.
Just because it's an irritant,
Oh.
And so you have the gas mask on and yeah, and so there's
and then this stuff's still going on.
Yes, but now it's more behind closed doors. As before, it would be public event, free for everybody to attend. Like, oh hey, we just got a new boot, we're gonna go haze them. And so now you'd have 45 people watching you get hazed. Versus now, it's usually just a smaller a smaller number. And so if somehow the Commandant of the Marine Corps, who I've actually met,
Right.
is watching this, I will not divulge any specifics.
You ain't getting no names.
Yeah.
No rats.
No snitches around here.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're going to give me an honorary rank higher,
Yeah. Does that come with pay?
What's that?
Does that come with pay? An
No.
honorary rank? Oh, okay.
No, but it's honorary.
I'm willing to give up information for money.
Yes. And then drinking games where they'll take like 2 large like quarts or liters of alcohol, like 40 ounces, and they'll duct tape them to your hands, and you can't do anything until you finish them, and they call those Edward Scissor 40 hands. Yeah, and so you can't do anything. Like if you have to piss, like you have to like finagle your dick like that. If you have to shit, if your girlfriend calls, you can't do anything until the beers are taped to your hand are finished. You have to finish both of them.
Nice. And what's your thoughts on stuff like that? Like, because obviously we're not condoning it. Commandant of the Marine Corps, who I know is an avid listener of the podcast, but for me, I find that there's some benefit to stuff like that. I really think that it's like a rite of passage. And I think that it boils down to, well, what is the job that you're there to do? And the job that you're there to do is take the life of other people. So you need your people to be rough around the edges, is my opinion. I don't think a civilized group of people want to run around bayoneting people in the face. I just don't get how the two, maybe I'm wrong on this. Probably not. I'm wrong about most things. But I just don't see how people, like, I don't see how a logical person can think that, because we're not talking about like, you go to the vet, right? And the vet, you need to put your dog down. So the vet are very, and I know it's, I know vets, I'm sure some of them get a kick off it, some weird people out there, but I know vets, it weighs very heavily on them when they have to put an animal to sleep, right? But that's not what the job, you're not going to the enemy going, oh, quiet, Terry. It's okay. You've lived a good life. Think of chasing those chasing those rabbits in heaven.
Yeah,
and
close
then
your eyes, only dreams now.
No, it's like boom, and his leg goes flying through the air, and everyone goes yeah.
Yeah.
Like so, I don't understand how a logical person can want or expect a group of people who. Here's the other thing as well, right? It's not one of the. I don't think it's one of those things where when you say stop doing it, people they won't stop doing it, and it just becomes a chargeable offence, and you end up losing leadership and stuff because of it, because you end up losing some guys who maybe were good leaders and you lose them. And I want to make the point as well, is there is a difference between a community thing that everyone goes through and the deliberate picking on of an individual, which can cause silver bullet. In my experience, and I'm sure this is the same with a lot of people, you just know when it's a group thing, and you know when it's a bully thing. You just have that. It's same as a lot of things. It's like if you don't need to be explicitly told about, say, your friendships and stuff like that. You just get a gut feeling of this is something I can do with one person. It's not something I can talk about with another. We have these instincts as humans, and I think our instinct is when bullying happens, and to be honest, military guys, I think as well, we're pretty good at stepping in when there's fucking bullies.
Yeah.
So I don't know, dude. I think it's a pretty tough one. But yeah, I just think that if you start treating people with kid gloves, you're doing them a disservice, because when they get to war and shit starts to get nasty, then they're not prepared for that.
Yeah. The trouble with that is that there's always going to be somebody who takes it too far.
Yeah.
There's always somebody, who ruins the good time for everyone. And usually it's some dummy who, well, this was done to me, so I'm going to do it to them. Yeah. And that's the only mindset that they have behind it.
Yeah.
And so, how do you justify that, that crying mother, her son was needlessly killed in some stupid training or hazing instance that, had nothing to do with actual training. And so now, the knee-jerk reaction is now we have to overcorrect for this.
Yeah.
And so, like, you had that one kid who he was put in the Marine Corps boot camp. He was put in the dryer. He was messed with so much to the point where, he jumped off of the balcony and killed himself.
Yeah.
And so now, the standards are going to go down for everyone because of that one incident. And now the quality of Marine that you're going to get after that is going to be less.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, dude. I definitely think that those people who do take it too far should be fully punished. I don't think it should be a carte blanche to just do anything, with everyone. Right, so I want to know your perceptions and your feelings on the UK military.
I think that my personal perception is pretty a pretty high admiration and respect, because I've met a lot of British service members. I've worked with a lot. I've spent a lot of time training with the commandos, and those dudes were like super athletes,
vile wretches, creatures. We're talking about like those things that you do in like the tsunami parties.
Yeah.
So the Royal Marines, bootnecks, they have this. I don't know if they can do them anymore, but they did have this thing called join-in runs where they get they call them nods. So like the new lads, and they'd like we were talking about the whole taped up hands, respirators, all that. Like some of the stories about those joining runs that I've heard, I'll definitely get a bootneck on here at some point to talk about those, because they're just like they're hilarious, but at the same time you don't want to be the person going through one.
Yeah.
Again, it was like a rite of passage thing,
Yeah, because like we've done things that are just like okay, I think when you were on our show, we talked about this a little bit, that they put a pickle in a guy's butt crack, and now you have to walk from here to here. And if you drop it, you got to take a bite, or things where like they're going to the fire team's going to hold you down, and they're going to put like tape over your nipple and rip the hairs off.
Oh.
It's just like the stupidest shit, And
what would you rather do? Would you rather do the pickle one or the nipple?
Oh, easily the pickle thing.
Yeah, same.
Yeah.
I mean, I when you said that, I was like, this is maybe I'm a bit of a creature, because you said that. I was like, that doesn't sound so bad.
Yeah, well, I mean, to most people it'd be humiliating,
Yeah.
Like imagine if you go into your work at like the restaurant or at the pub, and then like all the wait staff like pin you down and put a pickle in your butt. And they're like, all right, do a lap around the bar.
Yeah, joke's on them. I like pickles.
But it'd be humiliating for most people, but for the most part, I have a lot of respect for them. I've worked with them a lot on different capacities, either in training, overseas. Like I said, they did a lot of our medevacs in Afghanistan. And I think as far as the perception of the British Army and the British military in general goes for America, is that most Americans kind of like see them as a close partner, because of the amount of effort and partnership that has been put in by both in Iraq and Afghanistan.
And you think that's not just military thing? Is that like a general population thing?
I think so. I mean, you can't discount the fact that 70 countries celebrate Independence Day because of the British military. You can't discount that. It's every 4th of July is the biggest fucking party that we have in America.
It's pretty fucking dope. I enjoy it very much. I'm actually okay with losing the colonies because I enjoy 4th of July so much.
Yeah, and then also Western expansion. If you hadn't sold the colonies and then gone to war with France, then Napoleon would never have sold the Louisiana Territory to Thomas Jefferson.
There'd be no Mardi Gras. So you've got two parties.
Yeah, Manifest Destiny. Spain probably would have held on to Mexico and California. And it'd be a very different landscape.
Yeah, San Diego would not be the San Diego
not at
we
all.
have today.
And it was just kind of funny that when we had the Olympics in London a few years back, like how the national anthem is basically just like a war song, And so every time the U.S. won the gold medal, the flag goes up, the national anthem goes off.
Oh, almost all national anthems are war songs.
Yeah.
Like there's not many national anthems where it's like, let's go to yoga class, and then
Canada.
Oh really?
Yeah.
That's pretty chill.
Yeah,
they did a revision on it recently, didn't
they?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they did a revision on it to take out like the one bit that was like vaguely. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I might have made this up. I make a lot of stuff up. I do it professionally, but I'm pretty sure that it was a thing. Like I'm sure it was a thing. Yeah, we'll look that one up. We'll look that one up later.
Yeah, which is also funny because you look at why the colonial war was fought. It was like a very minuscule tax, and then you look at the tax rate that the U.S. has now, and I can just see the Queen haha, you fucked yourself.
So, well, actually, Canada's an interesting one though, because again they've been in, they were in Afghanistan. I don't think people understand how much of a role the Canadians had in Helmand Province. I think it's Kandahar Province.
Yeah, they hold the record for the longest sniper shot.
No, I think Brit took that back. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Brit took. They did have it for a bit, but Brit took it back. I think it's Sergeant.
He shot like some gas canister and like 8 dudes blew up at once. Like it was a righteous kill. Ought to kill.
Yeah. See, look at us smiling. But this is what I mean. We're just talking about people getting blown up by a gas canister. We're both sitting here with massive smiles on our face, like. It's like, remember that beautiful sunset that we saw? We're like, oh, you know those guys, they shot the gas canister and it blew up? It's like, memories.
Oh, memories.
Yeah, okay, so I'm just going to look at my little notes list down here because I want to make sure we covered everything. Alright, so I'm going to tell you, because I asked you earlier if you heard about this and you hadn't, so I'm going to give you the story. So, what happened was recently, so Jeremy Corbyn, right, he is the leader of the opposition in the British government, right? Pretty far left, and he's I'm not going to say he's not a fan of the British military because I don't want to put words into his mouth, but the perception is that he is not a fan of the British military, and I get where he's coming from. He doesn't want there to be wars and stuff, and that's fantastic. There shouldn't be wars, but there are wars, right? Yeah. So he's in favour of like scrapping our Trident, the nuclear submarines. He's in favour of like scrapping that.
Bold move, Cotton.
Bold move, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off. Oh, here come the Russians. And he was very much on the kind of when it came to the IRA, he was, and again, we don't want wars to go on forever, so there is like points to be made for reconciliation and stuff like that. But recently, there's a couple of things that have happened. There's been they've brought up these historic crimes against members of the parachute regiment. And one of the guys is now going to be tried for murder of what the event was called Bloody Sunday. And I think the reason that I don't think anybody out there thinks soldiers should be able to get away with anything. But I think what's really irked people is that there are, basically amnesty was granted for all the terrorists who committed crimes there. So they're all walking, there's no murderers of soldiers, of security forces, of civilians. These people are walking around as free men, right? And if that's the price for peace, then maybe it needs to be paid. But I think what's really got people is that they've gone after soldiers for crimes committed 60 years ago, nearly. They're going after these guys, but then the terrorists are walking around free. And I think that he's kind of been supportive of that. So what happened recently was a few lads they're paras, who are not known for their even-keeled temperament. They are, as British infantry are pretty rough around the edges, and I would say the paras try and take that to another level. And there's some of them deployed in Afghanistan, and they took a video of 4 of them using the simunition, and there are 4 of them firing, and then the cameraman goes to look at the target, and it's a big poster of Jeremy Corbyn. And there's obviously been outcry from a lot of people who feel that this is a terrible thing, that these guys were shooting at the leader of the opposition. And you've got brigadiers from the 16 Air Assault Brigade coming out saying what a fucking terrible thing it is for them to behave that way. What's your kind of thoughts on like public, or not even public reaction? Because to be honest, I think public reaction has been, they're fucking paras. Like, these guys are desperate to fucking kill people. You really gonna make this much of a fuss about it? My own opinion is they're fucking stupid to video it and put it up, because what do you think was gonna fucking happen?
Yeah.
But could you imagine like a similar thing happening like that in the US? Like, what if let's say some Rangers shot some munition at a target of Hillary Clinton? Would there be that? What would the reaction be to something like that?
I think it would be kind of it'd be split, because America is so polarized with politics, and because there was something similar that kind of happened where Hillary Clinton walked into a Taco Bell and there was a bunch of Marine recruiters there, and so she went around and shook their hands, and the way that the picture is taken is that the Marine was shaking her hand, but he had his other finger, like his hand like this, like crossing his finger.
Trying to finger it?
No, so like, in grade school in America, like I apologize if that's an offensive symbol to anybody, like a crux or whatever, and but when you cross your fingers, it basically means that you don't mean whatever you're saying.
Oh, right.
So if somebody's like, hey, can I borrow 25 cents to buy a juice? And you're like, okay, but you have to pay me back tomorrow. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then the person has their fingers crossed, like in child, mischief.
In the child court law.
Yeah, and child mischief and lore, if you have your fingers crossed, that means you don't mean it.
Right.
That you're basically that you have permission to lie if your fingers are crossed or whatever. And so you have to be like, no, fingers crossed. Let me see your hands. And it's like you got to run their pockets. Make sure.
Politics would probably run a lot better if we went back to that system.
Yeah, and so he was shaking Hillary Clinton's hand, and he had his fingers crossed, basically meaning like I'm only doing this because I'm obligated to. Like a lot of our if you look at some of our propaganda footage from like Korea and Vietnam, like there was a pilot who shot down in Korea, and they forced him to record like propaganda of him surrendering. Oh, yeah. But when he had his hands up, he was doing it straight up, like he was calling a goal. Nice. And the way he had his shirt tucked and stuff, and so you could like look at him and tell him that he was doing this under protest. Mm-hmm. So Americans were just like, oh no, he's not a traitor, like he's just being tortured. But anyways,
being tortured.
Yeah,
we'll let him off. How many days of torture? 3. Okay, it's acceptable.
Yeah, if it had only been 2. But that's fucked up, like we're talking about a dude, like people have been tortured,
Yeah.
But so the idea was that like the left completely ignored it, like they didn't talk about it at all. The right the right media, not the politicians themselves, but the media was like, oh, look at this, Hillary Clinton snubbed by a U.S. Marine. Mm-hmm. And what a lot of people don't realize is that if you do anything and you were ever associated with the military, it's not asshole Daniel Sharp did something. It was former U.S. Marine. Or if you're active duty, like you said, it was like, paras shoot at. It wasn't, John Smith and Jim Lore and, Bob Jones. It wasn't 3 assholes shoot, at target. It was 3 paratroopers shoot at target. And I had a conversation recently with a new friend of mine, Clinton Romshaw. He's an Army guy in the U.S. He received I don't like to say won, but he was awarded the Medal of Honor.
Yeah, I think it's a way of saying it. The awarded.
Which is our nation's highest military honors, the Victoria Cross.
Yeah, it's Victoria Cross. I mean, people think, well, Medal of Honor. It basically means you've done some badass shit.
And he said something similar. Like he wanted to tease somebody on social media, like another veteran that he didn't know personally, but he wanted to tease him. But he was like, I can't do that because it's not Clint, doing this. It's Medal of Honor.
Yeah, that door's closed to you, dude. Yeah. There's Brian Wood. He put a quote up. So Brian Wood's a military crossman I talked about on your podcast. And he put a quote from Winston Churchill, which I'm probably going to butcher, but it's something like, a medal shines brightly, but it also casts a shadow. Yeah. And that's one of those things about it. It's because you are, from that point, it's like, it's not the military cross talking, it's that person. And that person might have been a Victoria Cross winner who was the lad of the barracks, who was the prankster. Yeah. And all of a sudden, it's like your personality you're not allowed to like embrace that personality anymore because you are a spokesperson then for the army. Yeah. Or for whatever branch you're in. And
anyone who I've ever met that has won an award for valor, whether it be a Medal of Honor or Silver Star, Bronze Star, whatever the case is, they always say this medal isn't for me; it's for the guys that didn't make it back. And so to speak of that, you have to kind of put that into context as for being in the military. I think we say some pretty raunchy and fucked up shit, but at the end of the day, I think that you and I both acknowledge that there is a line that, if you were to cross, it wouldn't just be like, oh, Geraint. It would be like, oh, best-selling author does this. Or it wouldn't be, Dan Sharp. It would be like, social media influencer. Yeah. Whatever the case
Absolutely.
is.
People like to stick labels on you. And that is something that I worry about, because it's like with the book I've got coming out in May, Brothers in Arms, pre-order it now. I don't want people to think that I'm speaking for all soldiers when I write that book, which some people are going to be like, oh, well, who is he to speak for all soldiers? I'm not someone to speak for all soldiers. I'm speaking for me, my experience, and I got my, my close group of friends. I sent the book to each one of them so that they were happy with how it was. I'm only speaking for like me and maybe a couple of them in certain parts. I'm not speaking for all fucking soldiers, but people will be like, oh, well, this is what it's like for soldiers. Well, no, it's not like it for everyone.
And also not only that, but to kind of take it back a little bit, people also have a tendency to polarize things, and so I could tease somebody, and it's just banter, and we forget about it, and it's just down the hatch with the beer, gone with the memory. But somebody else would be like, no, he slams this person, or disrespects, or and whatever your action is, like you might do something funny and record it, like, oh, look at me, I'm doing a dance, I'm making a funny voice or an impression, and it's like, oh, veteran disgraces the Marine Corps, and it's just like, why does everything have to be so polarized? Yeah, like you can't.
Not only that as well, but it's like, I look at it like this: if I go out and I do something stupid, right, I mean really stupid, not the usual level of stupidity. People don't go, oh, this pupil of Oslo Bryn Tabor, which is my primary school. They, so it's like you might have been out of the Marines for 20 years and done something. So it's like, let's say there's a shooter who, as there has been, a shooter who was was at one point was in the service. It'd be like, oh, soldier shoots up club or whatever. It's like, well, yeah. So that was one part of his life for a short part of his life.
Yeah.
But it's like that identity, as far as like the media or whatever is concerned, it's just that is what they want to label. But while we're on the negative side of social media, let's talk about the positive side too.
Yep.
So we were saying earlier, US Marine from America, British soldier from Britain, now in Norway. One of us is drinking.
I'll be drinking later.
Yeah, you'll be drinking later.
Yeah. I mean, one of us is somewhat professional.
You're somewhat professional, but yeah, I mean,
U.S. Marine slams British troops.
This is stumpy. If I don't start before you guys, then we're not on an even keel.
That's fair.
As was demonstrated last night. I have to start before you to make it to get us all on the same level.
Yeah, you got that 3-year handicap.
Yeah.
And you guys can drink on deployment too, right?
No. Well, the base rats can.
Yeah.
But like not if you're fucking. Well, and the special forces guys, but I mean they're a law unto themselves.
Yeah.
So, but not us.
Okay.
No, not us, dude. I didn't see. They'd be like, in Iraq sometimes they'd be like, oh, it's a 2-can rule, so you can all have 2 cans. Except anyone that's on patrols today, QRF or so, it's like, oh, so that's all the infantry, basically, except for the MT staff who are now absolutely blitzed.
Yeah, the company commander.
the battalion, yeah. To be fair, I was good like that out in Iraq, but yeah, to be fair, like it was fucking crazy, like in Iraq, because like there were piss ups on the base and stuff. Some people did have big piss ups, but no, not for us. But yeah, so good sides of social media. You and me out here, we connected through social media. Can't remember exactly how now. I think it was like I can't remember if it was a 3rd or 4th dick pic that I sent that got your attention.
It was the 4th.
It was the 4th. I mean, it was
a little sombrero on it.
Yeah, it's particularly veiny that day too. Shall I tell the story about the gym?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, so basically, long story short, Dan and I, because we're both beefy, handsome gentlemen, we went to use the gym in the hotel the other day, and I was telling him a story about one of the guys. This is a story passed on to me by one of my friends, and they were talking about how one of the guys was like, he had extremely veiny arms, and he was a big muscular guy, and everyone thought he was on steroids. So their way of finding out whether he was or not was to make him get hard on, and then to check out the veinage of his cock. And then they were like, right, story checks out. It's extremely veiny cock. And I told this story to Dan in the hotel gym, and I just assumed that the girl in there who was on the spin bike was listening to music in her headphones. Judging by the look that she gave me as she stormed out, probably not. So I would like to apologise publicly to that girl. It was not meant to be an offensive story. I thought it was a funny story, which I was telling to Dan. I did not think it was for civilian ears.
Maybe she wasn't eavesdropping.
Yes, yeah, mate, yeah, exactly. Next time, fucking don't eavesdrop on my conversation about big veiny wieners. So the social media, the good side of it is that we get to connect, and I really appreciate when people send me messages on social media. Letting me know that if the podcast has helped or if something that I've written has helped. And you found the same way. Sometimes, though, we were saying that sometimes I have fucking bad days. You have bad days. Mm-hmm. Some days when you get like a message from someone who's like struggling themselves and you're struggling, that can be pretty fucking heavy. Like, because you're like, oh, well, I want to help this person, but at the same moment, it's like, I don't even want to like speak to anyone in the world today. Yeah. So it can get heavy like that. But generally, I think that social media has been a very positive thing for veterans. I really appreciate when people, get in contact and say that that's been the case. And yeah, dude. I mean, I just think like your meme page, for instance, that bit of laughter could be a difference in someone having a good day or shit day.
It can be, and you kind of. Once you start to reach people and you start to get those messages, it becomes a little taxing because anything you do for pleasure is fun, but then anything that you're expected to do eventually becomes a chore. And so like the idea is, how do you consistently produce content? And I found that I get a lot of influence and a lot of inspirations from the messages that I get and the conversations that I have with people who message me. Because I may not, remember, every moment of my entire career, But if somebody, sends me a picture or sends me a message, and that might spark a memory.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I am able to use, my creative talent to put that into a format that is appeasing to, the people who follow me.
Yeah, I guess there's some fucking great stories, like people, and people have been good. People have been good. Like they've been telling me about, oh, you need to have this guy on, that guy on, and keep those coming because I've got like. I've got like a lineup of guests, for the next few months, but like I want this project to be something that keeps going on, and it's been really cool. I've had some really cool offers recently for people that I have no contact with. So we'll get someone the other day is his dad was like Rhodesian Special Forces and that kind of thing. I wouldn't know anyone like that, so I'm really looking forward to these conversations.
What do they say? Sort and floppies.
What's that?
Sort and floppies, like that's what the term was for stacking bodies back then.
Oh, Jesus.
In Rhodesia.
I mean, it's not going to be a politically correct conversation, and I mean, look, there's nothing.
I don't know what that means, by the way. So
yeah, there's nothing politically correct about the business of killing people anyway. Let's just be honest about that. It doesn't matter how you do it. There's no politically correct way of when it comes to killing people. But you know what? It's all part of history. It all needs fucking recording. And story is a story, whether or not it rubs people up the wrong way or not. In fact, if anything, stories that make people uncomfortable are probably the ones that need to be fucking told and recorded. Because if we just gloss over all the fucking bad shit in history, then we come up with a very distorted view of the world. And then when you have a distorted view of the world, that's when same mistakes happen.
Yeah.
Anyway, bro, I think it's time to wrap it up. I'm busting for a piss. Before we go, tell everybody where they can find you on the internet.
You can find me on Facebook, Pop Smoke. You can find me on Instagram, pop_smoke_official. You can also check out the Smoke Bit podcast that has Instagram under that name. It's available on iTunes and Spotify. We just hit like 100,000 downloads, so we're pretty proud of that. Pop Smoke is at like 534,000 followers on Facebook. My Instagram is at like 226,000 followers, and so it's a big community. We have about 55 different countries who listen to the podcast, and there's something there for everyone.
How many ISIS people do you reckon listen in? Because I reckon they will. There's got to be some of them who are sitting there, like, they're probably like going red with rage and steam's coming out their ears at your infidel stories. But do you reckon they tune in for like a bit of kind of like know your enemy stuff?
I would think if I had to guess, because we'll get pings when we get lists in different countries, and so one week we'll look at it and be like, oh, we had like 6 people in Afghanistan listen to us, and you would think it'd be like 6 like either like military people or contractors or whatever, but I would like to think at least one of them is like a wife that saw me and on patrol,
Oh, Daniel Shah,
yeah.
This is you.
And so now she just tunes in the podcast, and then whenever like the husband comes in, she has to like hide it.
Yeah.
So she doesn't get beaten.
Clean up a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right, guys. So that's where you find Daniel and the Smoke Pit guys. Obviously, I'll link everything up as well, or maybe I won't. I'll see how I'm feeling. And where can you find me? You can find me at GRJ Books. Is my personal Instagram. We're at Veteran State of Mind. Oh, by the way, I made a podcast for you guys. Not a podcast, this is the podcast. I made a website. It's vsompodcast.com. You go to vsompodcast.com, scroll all the episodes up there in a nice, easy to find place. And it's got all these little buttons that the awesome web designer made. Because I'm not going to claim that I made it myself, I've got a fucking clue. And you can click the buttons and you can subscribe on your favourite platforms. It does it dead easy for you. It takes everything. It's got links to all the social media on there. It's got a black and white photo of me where I look pensive. What else has it got? It's got a contact form on this. So if you have questions for the podcast, you can send them to me on social media. But I get a lot of dick pics and stuff like that. So I lose people's questions in the the kind of the clutter of dick pics in my inbox. So if you can send them to the website, it goes through to a nice separate account for me where I have all the questions in there. So that's the contact form on vsompodcast.com. And yeah, guys, if you could pre-order Brothers in Arms, then Me Love You Long Time, that would help a lot. Right, should we go and get some more drinks and some food?
Yes.
Right, awesome. Thank you very much, guys. Cheers. We out.